This podcast may contain paid advertisements, but more on that later. Welcome to the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, your go-to resource for unraveling the intricacies of business and leadership, honing in on the essence of bootstrapping a business from scratch. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur, a dedicated bootstrapper, or a leader navigating life's various challenges, this podcast is crafted just for you. I'm Isaiah O'Connor, your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, and my mission is to guide you towards personal and professional growth. Let's embark on this journey together. Now, with new episodes dropping weekly, I want to welcome you to the Remastered series, your chance to catch up on the journey so far. Here's one from the archives I think you'll enjoy. Today we're going to be talking about the DCEU, the DC Extended Universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU, and what that has to do with choosing your career. Well, in order to stay on top of my game as an entrepreneur, I try to do three things on a fairly regular basis. I read nonfiction books, I participate in Facebook business groups that relate to my business or other business-related things, and I watch business-related videos on YouTube. Well, while doing this, I have often seen some version of how do I find the best business/career for me? This is a vital question, and we all have to face at some point of our lives. Sometimes it's when we're 16, sometimes it's when we're like me, 35, 40, and going, man, I'm really stuck in a dead-end job. What should I do? How can I get out of this? Well, I found that when most people come to this question, they tend to evaluate this question based on what their current skill set is and how they can use those skills to make the most money. Well, it's important to know what you can do and what of these skill sets can make money. Well, that is an important thing to know. I mean, you might want to be a highly paid professional athlete, but you have absolutely no athletic ability, then that's not going to work out very well for you. Or you could be a very good cook, but find out that most chefs don't make nearly as much money as you thought they would. However, there is one question, the most important career question that you need to ask yourself, and that is, what am I passionate about, or what can I become passionate about? For an example, when I was young and I was trying to figure out what I should do with my life, I was 17, 18 years old, I met with my local college, their career counselor. They had no advice for me on what I should do, but since I had told them I liked computers and was good with them, they told me what courses I need to take in what order to get my degree in computer science. This was rather a redundant question as that information was already printed in the course catalog. So I said, I like computers. I said, great, you can be a computer scientist. No other questions. Pretty much useless information. But this left me feeling more lost. It didn't help at all. I was more lost. And eventually I dropped out of college without a degree. You see, part of the problem was I had wanted to go into computer repair, but the only degree they offered was in programming. I'm dyslexic, and computer programming becomes a nightmare with dyslexia. Had I met the right counselor and talked at length about my dreams and interests, perhaps my entrepreneurial bend would have come out and I would have taken business classes instead. Who knows where going down that path would have led me? Well, one of the biggest questions for me at the time was, what can I do that will earn the most money? Again, back to that, what skill will make me the most money? And at the time, it was the driving question as for a lot of people. And at the time, computers was a lot of money. But obviously, as I said, that didn't work out. And quite often when I've seen people talking about being an entrepreneur, what they ask is, what will make me the most money? I want to go into business and make a lot of money. All that matters is I want to make a lot of money. Yeah, money is an important consideration when choosing a career, but it should never take precedence over finding contentment and finding what you can be passionate about. You can do a quick Google search and find a lot of millionaires are completely discontented with their life and unhappy, no matter how wealthy they are. They're very sad, depressed people that really have empty, hollow, shallow lives, even though they have all the money in the world. So, what does all this have to do with Marvel and DC? At the time I was writing on this subject, I had just watched Infinity War and I really enjoyed Infinity War. I'm a bit of a Marvel fan, movie fan, and as I often do, after I see a movie, I like to dig into it. I go look at what other people are saying about it, the tropes, what the Easter eggs are, etc. And I went to YouTube and I went on and was watching people analyzing in-game and reviews. And when I was doing it, I came across a lot of comparison videos between the MCU and the DCEU. And I watched those as well, comparing the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the DC Universe, Cinematic Universe, or whatever it's called. I noticed a trend. Most of the videos I watched indicated that the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, has been far more successful both critically and financially than the DCEU. The interesting thing is that Marvel had some major disadvantages when compared to DC, and they should not have been this successful. So what has happened to allow them to be so successful? Many theories are out there. There's one underlying theme, and I'll come back to that. Well, let's look at the advantages DC had. First of all, DC existed before Marvel, both in the comic books and in movies. They had the first and arguably one of the biggest and most well-known superheroes of all time, Superman. They were also the first to create a superhero movie, and they had the most successful superhero movies to date. Superman, Batman, etc. And they were really, really doing great. Now, the Warner Brothers company owns the film rights to DC and every DC character. And this also means that since Warner Brothers owns all of DC, they can make any DC movie they want without a legal battle, without a struggle. So DC had all the cards. Long experience, super famous, super successful superhero franchises, and full creative control of the entire DC universe. Meanwhile, Marvel was in a different situation. Marvel was late to both the comic and movie game. Their superheroes were less well known, and the early movies were horrible flops. If you see one of the very first Fantastic Four movies, or the very first, before the even modern ones, but they had a really horrible film school student version of Captain America. I mean, it was awful. So they had really bad luck with the movies and okay. And then to top it all off, their best franchisers, the most well-known, Spider-Man, the X-Men, Wolverine, and the Fantastic Four, are all owned by different companies. So Marvel needs legal permission to use any of these. Now that's changed a little bit recently, but basically what happened was Marvel was about to go bankrupt, and so they sold off the rights to these characters to Sony and Fox. And so they don't own the rights to these characters. So they were in a bind. And so in 2007, Marvel Studios decided we're going to self-finance, we're going to start this ourselves, we're going to do the movies we want the way we want to. And in order to do this, they went to the bank and said, hey, we're going to do a movie, and we're going to give you the 10 most popular characters we have left as collateral. And if our movie flops, you can have the rights to these 10 characters. Basically, they put everything on the line for the one movie. And the movie they made was Iron Man. This gamble paid off and paid off big. First of all, the first movie they made was Iron Man. And it raked in a huge amount of box office returns. I mean, it just blew out of the gate. Marvel does Marvel best. But then they dropped something in at the very end, which was Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury coming in and mentioning the SHIELD, the Avenger Initiative, which just blew the minds of multiple fans that saw that. We were being promised a huge future universe, and they paid off. They did it. But anyway, getting off track there. Again, they wanted to make the movies they were passionate about, and so they started to do that. And they were producing when they decided to do it themselves, like I said, they wanted to do the Marvel movies the Marvel way because that's what they were passionate about. I'll come back to that. Meanwhile, the DC, well, they had a few unconnected movies, a few different Batman movies, a few different Superman movies. Batman changed a few times, Superman changed a few times, there was no continuity, there was no, they're just making pretty much standalone Batman and Superman movies. And they had some success, but again, no interconnected universe. But after the success of the very first Avengers movie in 2012, DC decided they wanted to jump on board and create their own interconnected universe, the DCEU. And, however, they ran into some problems. The first one, it was a lot of studio meddling. The Warner Brothers forced the directors to try to link all the films together and build up Justice League as quickly as possible. This was often at the cost of good storytelling. And then it just really made it hard for the directors to have full control. And why was the studio meddling? Well, was it trying to craft an amazing new DC universe, like Kevin Feige over at Marvel, meddling to make sure it was one continual universe? Nope. From everything I read and heard about, there was one underlying reason for the studio, for the corporate to meddle in the creation of the movies, and that was money. Cash, moolah. You see, not only did the Warner Brothers force a cohesive universe to try to cash in, but according to an article on CinemaBlend, they rushed the production in order to keep their executive bonuses from disappearing. That's right. Warner Brothers were about to merge with another company, and all the execs were going to lose their bonuses if they didn't get a movie out. So they forced them to create the Justice League movie in order to and get it out as quickly as possible so they could get their bonuses. There was no passion for creating a good story, no passion for cinema, just a passion to line their own pockets. And I think this may have been one of the reasons that led to their downfall. Now, hopefully, looking at Aquaman and some of the other movies coming forward, they seem to be correcting this. But we'll just kind of see how that's going on. Now, going back, from what I've seen, DC may be scrapping the whole extended universe idea and going back to individual standalone titles. We'll see. This brings me back to my main point. When it comes to choosing, will you spending most of your day and most of your life? You need to be purposeful in making this decision. Again, you need to look at more than just the income that is possible. You need to consider what you are currently or you could become passionate about. For example, I knew a person who grew up working in his family business, and to him it was just a job. He went off and worked in the IT industry. He thought it was fun and it paid well, but it was just not him. So he went back to what he knew and eventually started his own business in the same industry. He became passionate about his work and is now a leader and an instructor in the industry. Money is important. You need money to live, to provide for your family and others. So yes, money is a factor. However, if money is all you pursue, you may succeed in making money, but fail in finding true contentment with your life. As a matter of fact, as Marvel proves, if you pursue your passion first, the money often follows. I'm not the only one saying this. I've seen this in other books on personal growth and business. These books are a big part of what changed my life. In a way, I was bitten by a business bookworm, not a radioactive spider, to become what I am today. I do not have a superhero origin story. However, I do have an entrepreneur origin story, of which I will elaborate in my next podcast. If today's episode added value to your day, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment and consider giving us a stellar 5-star rating on your favorite podcast platform. Whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, or more. And remember, if you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, I will personally read it out in the next episode. To support the show, you can make a one-time gift by buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/bootstrap, donate through PayPal at paypal.me/IOCPOD, or make a contribution on our Patreon page at patreon.com/IOCPOD. Your support keeps the episodes coming. For even more content and exclusive perks, join our Patreon community at patreon.com/IOCPod. Patrons enjoy ad-free episodes, access to our private Discord server, early content previews, and a lot more. And here's an exciting offer. Get your free trial of our $5 a month Bootstrapper Community Explorer tier. This exclusive tier grants you ad-free content, Discord server access, and early content previews. Join us and be part of the inner circle. If you're feeling more generous, those who join tiers $25 a month and up will have a chance to be a featured guest on this podcast. A massive thank you to Wintergotten for generously providing the incredible intro and outro music at no cost. We appreciate their support. Be sure to check out Wintergotten's amazing work on YouTube at youtube.com/@Wintergotten. Until next time, I'm your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Isaiah O'Connor, signing off. This is the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, brought to you by Athos Business Solutions. For our companion podcast, the Athos Business Podcast, hosted by Jason St. Clair, along with past episodes and related blogs, visit our website at athos.com. That's ATHEOZ.com or theoz.com. Goodbye for now.